Hey there viewers, my name's Torinski and welcome back to another DCSS Sunday, where we try our very best to get a victory with every species in this lovely game. Where we last left off on our current character, Roland Trotter. That was 3 weeks ago, a whole week 3 weeks ago or something like that, so it's been a little bit. But we had finally, after a long string of terrible luck and horrible failures with the Palentonga species here, finally started to get rolling once more. Not to say that Roland didn't have some troubles of their own, especially in the early game when we just squeaked by the barest bit of luck. And that prompted us to finally head up and try out a Fated Altar, landing on Zin, who I've had a lot of fun experimenting with. It was a deity that I'd never really tried out too much in my own play, so it's pretty sweet to be forced into something and get to experiment with a new set of tricks. But we finally, like I mentioned, started to pick up a little bit. We were lucky enough to find a barding early on, just lying on the floor of the dungeon. And I believe we'd cleared down to D15 and most of our lair. And we were just getting ready to hop into the main section of the game here. If we take a peek, we can even confirm that, yeah, in fact, we cleared down lair 5, came back out to the regular dungeon, cleared all the way down, and we were just starting to think about where to head next. In terms of our character themselves here, for my own sake as well as you viewers, we should do a little refresher. AC, still not incredible, but definitely a lot better than most of the Palentongas that we brought this far, thanks to that barding. We're also doing alright on resistances. Even our lack of resistance to poison has been mitigated slightly by the fact that Zin gives us the vitalization ability, giving us immunity to all poison effects. So let's hope that we can turn that into something great here. I'd love to find some better rings for sure. Some artifacts would be absolutely spectacular, but we'll have to see what the dungeon has in store for us today. So I was thinking, upon returning here, that we'll probably want to head over to our orc, start clearing through that a little bit before we head into our S branches and try our best to get that first rune. I'll even take a quick peek through the inventory as well, just because it has been so long this time around since we were last here. Throwing devices aren't doing too well so far, but thankfully for us we have shoals to clear at some points. That should give us a huge influx of javelins, boomerangs, what have you, as long as we can survive it, of course. And we are doing okay for evocables, so hopefully we can get that up. We did have a scroll of acquirement. Was I waiting on something here? Ah, right. Unfortunately, the best option here was probably looking like Frostbite, but we do have a shield, and I wouldn't really want to give up that extra little bit of defensive capability, especially with a reflection amulet. It can be nice to have a bit of a higher shielding score. So we'll see if this ends up going anywhere. I mean, we could always take the gold. That's definitely an option, especially if we find some nice shops down in Orc. So let's cross our fingers together here and hope we find some good places to spend our money. At the end of the day, with Zin as our Lord and Savior here, we can also resort to just spamming the ever-loving crap out of his divine abilities and then trying to re-up our piety using donations of our cash flow. So lots of places to go here, lots of things to spend our hard-earned money on. Gastronach is also hanging out somewhere on this level, and we only barely managed to avoid him the last couple times thanks to the imprison ability. It's not quite looking like a fight that we can take quite yet. But let's head down and see how well we can handle this new area. Usually we of course would have been clearing through Orc quite a bit sooner than we are here, so I'm hoping that we can turn that into a half-decent attempt here in terms of ease. Unfortunately, Gastronach was immediately attracted to the noise. Still don't feel super comfortable fighting you. We at least have gained a bit of experience since we last came across Gastronach. We do have a decent amount of health. In fact, we should probably have gone into our skills real quick just to double check where we were sitting at. Train up invocations, trying to get that recitability heading up and up. Same with armor for our AC. And evocations just starting to get to the point where it does have really nice returns on all of those wands and rechargeable items. Unfortunately, don't love starting a fight with Gastronaut potentially, while already injured. We could run away, of course. And in fact, I think that's what we'll do. Gastronaut is a very slow enemy, so fortunately he can't chase us with too much haste here. We can instead just walk away, try and reduce this down to a slightly more manageable fight. Ooh, and there we go. We see that the airstrike hits real hard when it does come in. That's exactly why we didn't want to fight that buddy while looking at all shaky. But maybe we do want to try now. We've come upstairs, healed up. We could pre-haste ourselves, maybe use a might potion or something like that, as well as dip into our wand stash here to try and make it through in one piece. In fact, I'm very tempted to do so. It's risky, but I would rather not come out of Orc already in a horribly damaged state right into Gastronaut's face and take some lethal bits of damage. So let's try it out. We can always retreat once more. In fact, we take a look. Gastronaut, can you see invisible? I'm guessing you can because you're a powerful wizard. You can indeed. That's a shame, too bad. But alrighty. We do have the File of Floods now, so we are able to silence our slug friend. Let's try put that to good use here. In fact, we'll just immediately throw out that, we'll roll in, and we'll try and take this buddy out before he gets a chance to remove the silence ability, and there we go. That is much better. Wow, you're all still asleep, eh? Not too bad. We'll leave those boomerangs of dispersal for now. Finish our exploration of the floor now that we're in a slightly safer spot. A Yaktar. Definitely wouldn't have wanted to run into that buddy earlier on. There we go, not too bad here. Now we'll try and use these stairs to our advantage, stair dance where necessary. In fact, let's let that hound come towards us. We'll jump up and eke out every advantage we can here. Not a bad start to our Orc at the very least, though that can definitely change in Orc too when we start coming up against the stronger spellcasters and the like. Ooh, some early shops though, that's exactly why we wanted to come down here. Both general stores, so who knows what we might find. Longsword of Thieving Scavenger, unfortunately not quite what we were looking for. +0 buckler of protection. So we could sacrifice a bit of our shielding score to gain +3 to our armor class. That is a bit more tempting. Let's at least mark it. It's relatively cheap too. It's not a huge break in the bank. And Labrellac's specific store selling 1 scroll of linking. Well, it is exactly what we'd like, so I will pick that up right away. No harm in picking up some more escape options for the future. And while I'd love for that store to have much more in stock, at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with that alone. Let's see, a Vorpal Battle Axe. What was this longsword? I wasn't paying attention. Also Vorpal. Okay, so that shouldn't be too bad here. So we let everyone slowly come in at us. Not quite 1-on-1, but 2-on-1 is still very much a fight that I'm happy to take. You can see there how our slightly suboptimal defenses do come back to bite us a bit, taking a decent amount of damage, even with just the flood of small little buddies coming. Just about through with the floor here. We'll have to take a peek and see just how scary our Orc 2 is looking. All the stairs relatively close together, which is not the greatest. For the most part, it's nice to be able to retreat out and not have to deal with everyone you left behind, but it is what it is, and so we'll just do our very best to deal with it here. Probably doing our fair share of stair dancing. Hello friends, if you'd all like to come upstairs with me, we could run off to one of these little faux one-wide corridors. Can you pick up weapon and armor? Definitely. We have the +9 flail here, which is giving us our resistance to electricity, and willpower, which is definitely nice to be up to 3 pips. That was the unfortunate reason for our downfall with our very first Palentonga that got oh so close to winning the run, all the way in Zot 5, but our lack of willpower caused for some paralysis. And armor is doing okay, but not the best. We're definitely looking for some artifacts and hoping, especially for some special rings in the near future, replace these kind of basic ones that are at our side. We'll see what the run has in store here, as well as simply which kind of Orc 2 finish we get here. Ideally, one with not too many High Priests and Sorcerers. But sometimes you just have to take whatever is given to us here in the game. Let's see, there is an amulet, but we're pretty happy with our Amulet of Reflection, so I'll probably leave that alone for now. And we'll instead just pick up a Heal Wounds potion and an ID scroll. Immediately figure out some more of these potions, and perfect! We managed to identify Degeneration just in time to drop it on the ground in favor of that Heal Wounds. Hello, friends. Huge crowd, but fortunately we can start reciting Zin's Axioms of Law here. I need to remember to use that as often as we possibly can, seeing as how it is a pretty much free ability. And as you can see there, it does a decent amount of work in terms of just knocking everybody off of their feet. Not too bad. Find any shops yet? A few. Unfortunately, nothing too game-changing so far, but that can definitely change. There are monsters nearby. The training dummies monsters. Oh my gosh, there are things under the training dummies? I've never actually known that before. Huh. That's nice. I can't say no to some free nets. Love to see it. And this is definitely one of my more favored ending areas for Orc 2. The little village setup. But we'll see how I feel about that as we face off now against our first Orc Sorcerer. Again, that higher than usual willpower will do wonders for us in preventing any horrible status effects from taking place. We're also able to abuse the corner here in order to not allow the sorcerers to get too many summons in place. Love to see it. Not too bad. Definitely a half decent start, all things considered, and our roll also doing wonders for taking out these gosh darn spellcasters. Start our reciting. I believe the recite is not resisted by willpower at all, but instead by monster hit dice. So the stronger the monsters are, the less likely they are to be affected by the various cool things that our Axioms of Law can do, but still does a good job at paralyzing all the little chaff that might otherwise be chipping away at our health, and let us take care of the strong buddies as quickly as possible. I also will definitely want to pick up Scroll of Fear. That is lovely. Otherwise, not a whole lot to sneeze at here. We already have a decent number of curing potions, so I won't worry about that. Let us quickly read the Scroll of Identify, get some more of our potions sorted here, and I guess we'll drop the Scrolls of Noise. Always be reciting, bore these guys to sleep with your sermons. We'll do our best. Definitely not something, again, I have the most experience with, not having followed Zin before, but I am definitely learning to appreciate the power of our favorite Lord and Savior here. And the +8 Trident of Bikopo. A speed trident at +8 is actually pretty awesome, and this would allow us not to have to use revitalization rather, each time we wanted resistance to poison. So I might mark that, and it could warrant a bit of a change of strategy at some point in our future. See how that goes. Hello friends, come one, come all. Definitely once more, try and take out that sorcerer. That's a nice trident, I agree. I do really like the speed brand, especially on a reach item like that. Could be pretty sweet. Ooh, and speaking of artifacts for rings, earlier in this run, that is a lovely one. Getting just our base resistances out of the way with RF and RC could definitely be something I'm interested in the future, so we'll immediately mark that. Then we end up with a spell shop, which Unfortunately, probably not super likely for us to take part in here. I guess we might as well check out the Book of Weapons. What does that have? Portal Projectile is the only one that we can learn from that. No necromancy or transmutation as a follower of Xin. Xin does not appreciate the changing, chaotic nature of transmutations and the evilness of necromancy. There we go. Definitely had some decent shops here. Don't know how much I really want to splurge on anything here. Maybe this resistance ring could be nice. It's not going to help us a whole lot going into something like Spider, which is probably where I'm thinking of heading next for our first rune. And aren't a lot of elemental enemies in there unless I'm completely forgetting something, which is very likely. I do often forget a lot. But it would replace this RC ring, as well as give us a bit more strength, a bit more intelligence, I believe. Right, we're the two? Indeed. The Ring of Mem. I think I will pick you up, Ring of Mem. Immediately drop this Resist Cold ring for that. That gives us slightly more well-rounded resistances across the board. In fact, maybe we'll want to switch away from our chainmail of fire resistance back to just the +4 chainmail. Get a couple points of extra AC here, and we no longer really need that fire resistance on at all times. So that's not too bad, all things considered. Definitely showing the power of reciting here in an intelligent branch with a whole lot of humanoids in it. So I'm hoping that will mean good things for Shoals. I'm actually really happy to get Shoals, if just because Recite will be much more effective. Spider, not so much. But with that in mind, let's maybe dip our toes into Spider. We're gonna have to be very careful the whole time to be popping on our vitalization ability whenever we get into combat here, just to make sure that we don't get lethally poisoned too often at the very least. So we'll take a peek and see how that goes. In fact, maybe we'll pop that on right away. Fortunately, it doesn't cost a whole lot of piety to cast, so it's not the be-all end-all in terms of how often it can be used. Let's pop around the corner here, and I'm just gonna tank this orb. Oh, reflects off the shield? Then never mind, don't have to tank anything. Just let that take care of the orb buddy itself. There is a reason why I love me some Amulet of Reflection. Vitalize again. I believe Vitalization might protect against confusion as well, so it's very solid against the Tarantulas, which I always worry is supposed to be pronounced Tarantula and just spelled different, but I'll take it. Excuse me, friend. Dang it, that did not bounce off the way I'd like it to. Also, I'm forgetting that we have an ability to roll. That's much better. Let's not chase down enemies when we can just quickly do a bit of a spin move into them. We need to take advantage of our natural given abilities here. And interesting. This ghost crab is going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt. It's not quite close enough for the acid yet, so we won't worry about that. That may be something that we can use to throw that buddy off their game. We unfortunately don't have any resistance to negative energy, so I don't love hanging out in these clouds. In fact, might start taking a few steps back here. What made us go with Xin in this pally? So we actually had a pretty ridiculous string of misfortune followed by some very lucky circumstances in the early game. And feeling a bit of a high off of our survival there, we decided to try our luck at the early Fated Altar we found. So we actually got Xin off of a Fated Altar, and I've been very happy with it since, if just because I'd never really tried out Xin too much on my own, and it's been fun experimenting and learning some new tips and tricks. I think I might actually imprison this Moth of Wrath real quick. I do not want these wolf spiders to go berserk. As you can see, we're already struggling a little bit to handle them on their own, and And that's the main danger point of those Moths of Wrath in Spider here, is when they manage to berserk huge hordes of spiders. You approve your Zealot of Fated? Me too. I don't take them too often in this series, just because sometimes I'm feeling a bit desperate for the win and don't want to throw it all away, but in my own personal play, I love the randomness of them. And I like being forced into, new tricky situations where you might learn a little something. I've definitely come to appreciate Zin, who I'd never really tried out before, especially since I usually eschew them in favor of someone like the Shining One instead, in terms of the good gods at least. So it's been absolutely fantastic to get to try out something new here. And really come to appreciate the abilities. But I love to see another fan of the Fated Altars in chat. Oh, whoops. I actually wanted to roll into these orb friends. There we go. One down. And again, kind of going the wrong direction here, but immediately was kind of happy with it, with that Entropy Weaver coming out of nowhere. They're an absolute pain in the rear. Definitely don't want to see ourselves getting corroded while surrounded by a huge pack of spider friends. Everyone would like to follow me around the corner though. Fantastic. We'll also pop Vitalization now that we see some redbacks joining the fight. That is a lot of orb spiders. I'm currently held by the net. Could use something like an early scroll of blinking just to get ourselves over here. That's not too bad. Alternatively, we could try Sanctuary for the first time of the run here. Give ourselves some safety just to break out of this net in the first place, and use the inability to be attacked in our Sanctuary to start wandering over. Alternatively, we've explored most of the floor, so we could go for an early teleport here. And in fact, that's what I think I will do, just to save our resources as much as possible. Take just a few turns for that to take effect. Let's roll into the orb spider, keep rolling around, and perfect. We end up in a semi-safe place. We'll see if anyone wanders up to us while we wait here. Perfect. Managed to heal up. So that is an interesting fight to say the least, getting surrounded like that. Try our best to avoid that in the future when possible. In general, our rolling charge will be super useful here, not just for the orb spiders and jumping spiders themselves, but also just for the fact that in general, all these spiders are super quick, and we want to be able to hop around where necessary, and it even allows us a bit of an escape option where we're able to break off melee with the spiders around us to jump quickly to one of their allies. Not to mention the accuracy bonus helps out a whole lot with the hyper-evasive enemies like the ones we are facing now. So we slowly but surely identify more and more of our inventory things here, find more tools for escaping future nasty situations. And you know what? Spider 1 went alright. I'm definitely feeling our lack of defenses a little bit, but there's not much to be said for Palentonga, unfortunately, unless we get really lucky with our barding here, or with getting maybe a better piece of armor. +4 chainmail, definitely not bad by any stretch, but I'd love a really highly enchanted plate armor, something like that. At least until we're able to find some gold dragon scales in the late game. Hello, friends. Rather not be bombarded on all sides by orbs of destruction, so let's just head to another stairwell here, shall we? Hop on that vitalization, and this is a much safer point to make our entrance here. Much better. It's gonna be just a little bit rough for the most part here, I'm sure. Let's rush our orb friend. And the more we can make these buddies just have to close with us completely, the better off we are. I think we're just going to tank this one orb of destruction, or never mind, we're going to roll right past it. And it blows up its friend. Now that is a satisfying way to deal with an orb spider. we don't have to hope that we reflect it with our amulet, if instead we can just try our very best to dodge past it with some quick rolling abilities. It's nice that we get to see the path that we're destined to take when we start our roll. And also nice of the game to supply us with this lovely corridor. Take on all these buddies, recasting vitalization as it runs out, as we see ourselves start to become poisoned. Oops, let's not step into webs, shall we? Webs and spider have the dual ability to stop you in your tracks and cause you to get caught up, as well as I believe they actually alert nearby spiders of your presence, which is a cool little interaction. Roll is too fun sometimes. Indeed, I should use it more often because I am enjoying it a lot. My only caveat to that is I'm always slightly concerned that I'm going to get myself into some deep, deep trouble doing so. When it shines, it definitely does some good work. Especially, we've fought a couple boulder beetles in the past year, and I love to go roll on roll and just prove who does it better, who wore it best. Where's the redback? Ah, I see. I'm just blind. Didn't see you at all, pal. Good thing the game won't let me put myself into terrible situations. Not too bad. Definitely a good showcase for the roll ability, as we've been mentioning. And vitalization is the true MVP here, making sure that we stay out of trouble. Hello, Agnes. Almost confused you for the Enchantress, who I would have been very scared of, as is, I think we can take you. In fact, we can. Let's continue to use our roll strategically here, making sure that we take out that orb spider. No need to be taking pot shots from afar. We don't have a Spider Bro race, do we? No, just Ant-Man. No, not yet, unfortunately. It would be fun to get to play as a bit of a spider. I mean, at the end of the day, spider form does exist. At least, I believe it still exists, right? Could be wrong about that. So if you want to do your best to role play as a spider pal, you definitely can. It's an option. Not one that I'd necessarily recommend for the most part, but it's there, all right. And on top of that, I do actually very much enjoy the ant race, the Formicids. Definitely a bit of a challenge run for the most part, not being able to speed yourself up or teleport, but I've had some good fortune in the past, and there's something so innately satisfying about having a tower shield in two of your arms and a giant two-handed executioner axe in the other two. Alrighty, down to Spider Nest 3. Ooh, Entropy Weavers, not fun. Already down to -8. Oof. Unfortunately, don't have a lot of unavoidable damage. They have slightly better AC than the majority of these other spiders, but I think I will go for a tin of Tremor Stones. Fortunately, it goes out the wrong way here. Not fantastic. Let's maybe lead you all back to this little corridor. So we're down to -20. I'm guessing you cannot be recited to. Oh, you can. You're intelligent? Oh, my bad. Let's move slowly here because we will take heavy hits when we do get smashed, unfortunately. We maybe let this go slightly further than we otherwise should have. Could always pop a Sanctuary while we quickly try and heal up. Do I have any Ambrosia? We do indeed. So I think I will. For the first time here, let's pop Sanctuary. Gonna drink an Ambrosia. Even try and pop ourselves out of the net while that takes effect. And let that heal ourselves up nice and quick. Can then use the Sanctuary to take a couple steps here. Try and retreat to a slightly more defensible position. Our stairs are pretty far behind. So I don't know if we'll make it all the way there, but already looking slightly better. We're probably pretty close to outlasting this corrosion effect as well. These buddies will start to hit pretty hard right away. We'll recite again just for that Entropy Weaver's sake. And Redback is killed. Jumping spider. It's been a bit of a pain in the rear here. Let's see, how much damage can you actually do? 28. That's a little closer than I'd like, for sure. We can take one step. We do take 5 damage. And then we can also take a quick peek at 32 health on that spider. 3d14 undodgeable with our Ice Blast. Let's just smash them real quick. And try and run away while the Entropy Weaver chases us from afar. There we go. Managed to get ourselves out of a pickle, as well as finally get to experiment with Sanctuary a bit. I can definitely see where that might come in handy over the course of the run here. And on top of that, we are able to fight these Entropy Weavers one-on-one instead of 2 at the same time, because those corrosion effects were coming in hard and fast. With our defensive curl, we are able to get up to 34 AC, so that's actually pretty decent. Definitely happy to see that. I'll immediately vitalize again so that we don't have to deal with confusion coming down at an inopportune moment here. Plus, just in time for the redbacks to start showing up. Perfect, you love to see it. And at some point, that second Entropy Weaver is going to be coming out of the blue. Let's hope we're not actively in combat when it happens. There they are. Hello, friend. Do hate to see that. Oh, you also get affected. Huh. Interesting. I always assumed that you would have been too mindless for our recite to do anything there. Let's finish off this Entropy Weaver before we take any more bad mojo in terms of corrosion. Getting hit pretty hard here. Let's see. Could go for another Sanctuary Ambrosia play. Did like how that worked last time. You can also see that this buddy hits 3 times for 13. We have half decent AC, so alternatively, we can Ice Blast the Spark Wasp. Maybe take a quick Potion of Curing so that we're not quite in one-hit range, provided we don't get the absolutely worst possible AC rolls on all 3 attempts there. Hello, my Entropy Weaver pal. Why are there so many of you on this floor? Let's see, 71. So a few Ice Blasts should do the trick. We could also double check. Paralysis might be a half decent way to deal with you. We'll also bring a Recite out here. Let's double check some numbers just so we're not putting ourselves in danger. 4 times for 17. That's 68 potential damage. No, I think while they're dazed and confused, let's just walk our way out of there. Head back to our lovely stairs where we can heal up to full. You hate Entropy Weavers the most out of all the enemies in Spider. I definitely have to agree with you there. There's something about corrosion that is just truly horrifying in this game. Oops, we should definitely be vitalized going up against King Scorpion here. Let's see how it goes. This is our first fight against one of the tougher one-on-one enemies of the area. Managed to take it out no problem, not too bad. But yeah, that corrosion effect and the fact that even with resistance to corrosion you can still find yourself hitting the like negative 28 values like we saw there. Pretty rough stuff to say the least. Hey, Entropy Weaver, we were just talking about you. Let's immediately get that recite going. Ooh, and Donald the Adventurer should be able to take you out as long as we don't get too degraded or corroded, as it were. Fortunately, we're not dealing with projectiles on our end, so we don't have to worry about that reflection come back at us. But a Kite Shield of Reflection is very interesting, because that means that we can now potentially switch off our amulet for something else here. In fact, let's do a quick find for amulet and see what other options we have at our disposal. Faith isn't a big deal. We've pretty much been at max piety the entire time here, and unfortunately everything else is just magic regen, huh? I mean, Amulet of the Acrobat might be half decent, at least when we want to reposition and run away, which oftentimes we do after a roll into danger. 510 gold. Only a third of what we have. We're looking strong. Definitely not too bad so far in this run, Callie. I'm hoping that we can continue ramping up throughout the course of it, though. As mentioned before, I wouldn't mind some more half-decent rings as well as some better armor to get ourselves fully rounded off. Should also check out this other hat. I think I liked our old hat slightly better. It at least matches our fur. Always important to keep fashionable, as we so often remind ourselves in the dungeon here. And actually, speaking of things that we could see improvement on, even our hat, as much as I like our current look right now, I wouldn't mind getting a nice artifact helmet of sorts. Something that will give us some more AC and maybe also some resistances across the board. And hello, Louise. A 3% chance at banishment, eh? And the +9 flail of Quaslaw's anger. No, that's our thing. Oh my gosh, you have a +2 Morningstar of Flaming. Scared myself for a moment there. Unfortunately, I kind of hate this stair because of this dispersal trap. One of these enemies is pretty much guaranteed to step into that, and then who knows how far we'll end up away from retreat here. So let's just head down another way, find something slightly safer rather, a bit more manageable. And I was holding off on the vitalization until absolutely necessary, but pretty much as soon as redbacks show up, I like to pop that on. They have a brutal poison effect, to say the least. It looks like this entry takes us pretty close to the rune vault, if I had to guess. Let's quickly, again, throw on vitalization. These shock wasps can deal a ridiculous amount of damage, so try and take them out as soon as possible. Not too bad there. Against an Emperor Scorpion, I will retreat and just heal back up to full. There's no reason to take a fight like that unless strictly necessary. And I should actually double check. I believe this is our better stair. Indeed it is. So let's head here, take this buddy on. These do seem to be the same enemies we saw at our previous stairwell. Got attracted to the noise we were making and headed on over. We'll take these two upstairs, split our fights up so we can try and take out Louise as soon as possible. Only a 3% for Louise to banish us, but knowing my luck, that could definitely still happen. So let's just try and take them out as soon as we possibly can here. Don't mumble strange words at me, Louise. I know exactly what you're trying to do. Here we go, not too bad. Including a tower shield. So now we're stuck at the next decision where we could, instead of replacing our amulet with the Kite Shield of Reflection, could potentially upgrade to a tower shield. It would only take a bit more training in the shields department to get there. That is very tempting. So at least think about it. I don't think we're using that War Axe anytime soon, so we'll swap that off for now. We'll keep that in mind as a potential switch to take soon. The more shielding we have, the more effective that reflection is in the first place, which we would definitely love to see. Moth of Wrath. Oof. As mentioned before, Moths of Wrath are very scary in Spider once they start enraging everything around us. We'll use a quick roll to leave melee with most of these spiders here for free. And then let's take a quick look. The Spectral Wolf Spider is going to hit pretty dang hard. As well as these Spark Wasps, even with our resistance to electricity, pack quite a wallop. Even the fact that their regular sting is 33 damage before elemental effects are even taken into account. So we saw in the past that Recite does work against the demonic crawlers, thanks to the fact that they are evil. I guess, same with the Spectral Wolf Spiders. So let's start reciting here. Though I'd want to be ready to potentially retreat immediately here, and in fact, should maybe start thinking about that now. Teleport is kind of risky on Spider 4 because we might get teleported directly into the rune vault, surrounded on all sides by scary, scary monsters. The one thing that kind of tempers that a bit is the fact that we have Sanctuary as an option, which not only allows us to heal while under the effects, but also allows us to activate another teleport while not being able to come under attack, which is pretty sweet. So, let's maybe take a quick moment here, hands off the keyboard like I like to do, before I do something stupid and get myself killed in one turn. And instead, just think about our options real quick. It would at least take some bad rolls to get killed here right away. That does not mean that it couldn't happen, as we've seen in the past. And so, let us... I don't think Sanctuary yet, but I might actually go for that teleportation. Oh, we get the confuse effect from our law reciting. That's actually pretty solid. Now we're looking slightly dire straits, so I'm going to drink a heal wounds potion, see where we end up. Just like we were mentioning, you can end up in a scary place with teleport. So, we could Sanctuary, try and teleport out of here. In fact, I'm kind of partial to that. It takes a decent amount of piety, but it will leave us safe for a time being. Can also drink a potion of ambrosia so that we're healing up while we wait. And we can cancel the confusion effect with a lovely curing. And now I'm slightly healed up, so I do feel a bit more comfortable taking on this fight once more. Less so with an Emperor Scorpion coming out of the blue here. And of course, everyone sees us once more. We're in a bit of a cascade downwards here, so let's, again, try and make some slightly better decisions, shall we? I mean, we can maybe take you out with a couple of Ice Blasts. Alternatively, something like Tin of Tremor Stones does a decent amount of damage to all of these mostly unarmored enemies. You're the one that's truly scary, though. Blink Bolt is affected by anti-magic, but not by silence, so we cannot use the Pile of Bloods effectively to get rid of that. We can chain Sanctuaries, if necessary. We're still at 5 pips of piety at the very least, and once again we have a decent amount of gold that we could donate to try and rebuild that up over the next little while here. So, we use our 1 Fear Scroll. Do we try once more for Scroll of Teleportation Hail Mary? I mean, if we take a look at the level, there's a lot of area that's not in that end vault. So if we ended up anywhere on this right side of the map, we'd be looking pretty for escaping here. Mostly just want to reset ourselves so we can refocus our energies. Let's go for it. One more try here. Might even try and take out the Spark Wasp while we wait. And there we go. We finally get lucky with one of those teleports. Okay, we don't die to our own stupidity yet today. Definitely have to build in that yet caveat though. And now, let us try and re-engage on these fights in a slightly more controlled fashion. Being able to bring 2 of these buddies upstairs is going to be huge. Perfect. And I'll even vitalize before heading back down because the Emperor Scorpion is on its way. There we go. Much better, or much more manageable fights at the very least. Or so it would seem until we take a few bad rolls. You can really see the swings on a run like this in these fights in particular. But Jumping Spider alone we can take, and there we go. Managing to whittle down little by little here. See, down the stairs here we did have a wolf spider that looked to be about it for the time being. Can also recite our axioms of law against this undead buddy. Perfect. It'll be nice once we do end up heading to somewhere like Shoals, if just because those axioms of law reciting is going to be a bit more effective in general. against all of our enemies instead of just the evil ones that happen to be around. Speaking of which, hello, evil friend. We'll also start vitalization as soon as these hornets show up. We don't want to become paralyzed in the throes of combat here. Last but not least, I'm going to do a quick exclusion marker there. Leave the identify alone for now. Well, actually, we could use that identify right away now that I look at it. Well, in that case, let's drop the charming. We'll head over, figure out what the heck these scrolls are. Scrolls of silence, not too bad. I mean, we did have the file of floods that's been working out pretty well for us, but still can't complain. More solutions to problems is always going to be appreciated. Oops.